How would it feel like if you're being chased about in the living yard? How would it feel like if you have been running continuously for 20 minutes, 15 minutes without stopping? And when you eventually stop, you start breathing heavily, and it feels as if your heart is about to pop out from your chest. How does that feel? And at that moment, if someone was to come and say, "Hey, can you get me something over there?" Like sending you on an errand, you'd be like, "Oh no, I can't go now. I need to rest. I'm a bit tired." Now, relate that to your chicken. Why do you chase your chicken about in the living yard before slaughtering them? Why don't you rest your chicken before slaughtering them? A well-rested chicken gives better meat quality. Did you know? If you don't want to be stressed before doing something important, then why do you stress your chicken before slaughtering them? Hi people, welcome back to learning on this channel. So now let's get into the discussion. The quality of meat obtained from a carcass depends on certain pre-slaughtering conditions like the health, the diet, the breeds, and even the age. So what do I mean by breeds? Like when you go to the market now, they'll tell you this one is Noila, this one is Broiler, this one is Cockerel. Some are even heavier than some, and they don't even eat the same type of food. So those specifications, it makes them different. It makes their quality also different. So another one is age. You can't slaughter a young chick for consumption, right? What do you want to get from a young chick? Another one is health. So you can't possibly purchase chicken that's not in a good state of health, and you're seeking to obtain a better meat quality from such chicken. No, right? So there are so many things that affect the quality of meat, and these are all pre-slaughtering conditions. So there's this thing that is fasting of animal before slaughtering. What do I mean by fasting of animals? That is not feeding the animal for a specified time before slaughtering. The recommended time is between 8 to 12 hours before slaughtering the animal. And it's not just for chicken, it applies to all other animals too. So for chicken, you can be like, but chicken is not like every other animal that is big and consume a lot. You can be like, okay, I'll only fast my chicken for 3 to 4 hours prior to slaughtering. That one too can do something. So fasting of animals, what does it do? Fasting of animals empties the digestive tract and reduces the risks of fecal contamination, and this improves food safety. Fasting of animals also make evisceration easier. What is evisceration? The removal of the intestine, the heart, the kidney in the chicken or any other animal that is. So it makes it easier and cleaner because there will be less dirt in the stomach of the animal. So it makes cleaning easier. And fasting of animals also help in the meat tenderization. Fasting of animals helps to have better meat quality as well. And it also reduces glycogen depletion in chicken. So we'll get to glycogen depletion. But first of all, what are these traits? Let's talk about the traditional method of slaughtering chicken. So we know that the traditional method of slaughtering chicken in most houses in Nigeria is when the chicken is being chased about in the compound, in the living yard, and eventually catch the chicken, you tie it down, and then you cut it through the jugular vein. So if you are doing that, then it is not really ideal because you're not getting a better meat quality from such chicken. So what is the best way to do it? We'll talk about that. So what are other stresses that can affect the quality of animal? So some stresses like long transportation and distance. Even for humans, if you travel over a long distance, by the time you get to your destination, you'll be very, very tired. So it's the same for animals. Another thing is poor handling, like the way you chase the chicken about in the living yard. Another one is undernourishment of animal. Feeding your animal the essential diet that it needs to be taken for proper health, to maintain proper health. So if your animal is not taking that, if you're not really feeding your animal, if it's just eating whatever, it's going to be undernourished. Another thing is struggle when slaughtering and struggle after slaughtering. Some people do not really know the best way to slaughter their chicken or their animal. So when they are slaughtering this animal goes through pain and struggle before it dies, and even after, some animals do that too. Another thing is over fasting of the animal. Like I said, recommended time for fasting of animal is between 8 to 12 hours. Anything exceeding that, then you're not going to get a better meat quality from such animal or chicken. So now, how does this work? How does not resting your animal affect the quality of the animal? So let's say, for example, you chased your chicken about in the living yard. This chicken is already using all its energy. After it has used up all its energy, it's going to convert the glycogen. And the glycogen is responsible for conversion of lactic acid. So if the chicken is already converting the glycogen in itself into energy, so it can continue running, there will be no glycogen left to convert lactic acid. That means there will be a lesser level of lactic acid, and this will result in a very high pH. And when you have low level of acid and high pH, what does that mean? So first of all, bacteria cannot thrive in acidic condition. They cannot really tolerate the acidic condition, except acid tolerating bacteria like the lactic acid bacteria. So most bacteria can tolerate alkaline condition. When there is high pH, they will live and thrive well in such conditions. So first of all, your meat is already having a very poor keeping quality. Another thing is going to become very tough. There will be less lactic acid, less glycogen to do all the glycolysis breakdown in the meat. So your meat is going to be tough, dark. They call it DFD. Dark, firm, and dry. There's also another point which is PSE. PSE is if there is a fast drop in level of pH due to excessive breakdown of glycogen. So this also leads to pale, soft, and exudative meat. So the thing is, how do I then balance this thing? Because when the pH drop really bad, this meat is going to become pale, soft, and exudative. When the pH is high, it's too high, this meat is going to become dark, firm, and dry, and it's going to even have a very poor keeping quality. What then do I do to have a better meat quality? So what you do is make sure you rest your animal proper. You make sure you fast your animal before slaughtering, and before the proper fasting of animal and proper resting prior to slaughtering, this animal must be well fed. This animal should not have any type of health issues, because I said the quality of meat you obtain from carcass depends on these pre-slaughtering conditions. In short, low pH means we'll be having risks of acid tolerant bacteria, those are bacteria that can tolerate acidic conditions. Optimal pH means we're having best meat quality and a better shelf life for the meat. When there's high pH, it means the meat will be subjected to bacterial attack. The meat is going to become very dry and tough. There are sometimes that you go to the market. Let's use beef as reference. You go to the market and you see these meat sellers, you see the meats they displayed, and some will be looking very dark and tough. And you'll be like, this meat is not fresh. That is, it is not the meat that was slaughtered that day. It was slaughtered the day before, maybe 3 or 4 days ago. So, and they will tell you now, no, this meat is fresh. We just went to the abattoir to get the meat today. And you'll be like, no, this meat is not fresh. Actually, some of them are telling the truth, and it is not their fault. These are all due to those pre-slaughtering stress. So it is not the seller's fault. You see meat like that everywhere, and then sometimes it's not because the meat is 4 days old or 5 days old. Some are actually fresh meat. So there are sometimes that you see meats that are very, very watery. Those meats, you'll be like, why is this meat watery? Fresh meat, it will be watery. This thing are also due to some of these pre-slaughtering stresses. The meat is going to have less water holding capacity, and if meat is having less water holding capacity, is losing a lot of water, this meat is going to be attacked by bacteria, of course. So all of these stresses affect the quality of meat, and the best way you can eliminate some of the stresses is to fast your animals before slaughtering, and to also rest your animal well before slaughtering. And before that, don't forget to do the proper keeping of your animals or your chickens before slaughtering. And if you're planning on slaughtering a chicken or even maybe a ram, then it would be good if you rest your animal, if you tie it down somewhere, you give it water. Fasting does not mean you don't give your animal water. You give it water, but you don't give it food, and it should not exceed 12 hours. Or maybe you can even just do minimum, like 3 to 4 hours. So you tie the ram or chicken down before you go for Eid. By the time you come back, so you can now slaughter your chicken and have a very good quality meat. Oh yeah, let's not forget to mention chilling of meat. Like the way we buy meat in the cold room now. If you want to chill your meat, then you should make sure the cold chain does not fluctuate. It has to be continued, because if not, it's going to result in condensation and build up of microbial attack on that type of meat or chicken. Sometimes you go to the cold room to buy chicken, And you get there, you see this chicken, no eyes, nothing, nothing. It's already looking yama yama. It's not looking good. And like, don't you have the one that has eyes? You are very correct for asking for the one that has eyes. So because that one that does not have eyes, it's already been attacked by different type of microbes, and that type of meat after cooking cannot have a very good quality, even a very good texture in the mouth. So chinning of meat is good. Yeah, it helps to preserve your meat. But if the NEPA in your area is fluctuating, then I would not advise you chill your meat. That's why in the cold room they use all these big industrial chain, and the ones that do not use it, you would have observed that their chicken or their fish is actually usually without eyes, and the quality is usually very, very, very bad after cooking. So I'm glad you learned something from the video. So bye. See you in the next video.